It's interesting that you bring up the contract clause, because that's been discussed a lot, and it makes sense. And people have been going for this argument for a long time. What I seem to understand about the contract clause is that the intent of it and its application rests very squarely on like private contracts. So it's contracts between two people of concurring minds, prescribing their own rights, duties, obligations, etc. And that is certainly a part of marriage, and that's why marriage has been described as sui generis, or sui generis, I don't know the French pronunciation, but that it has elements of contract, but that it's not fully a contract, because after it's been contracted, after two people have come into the contract of marriage, it then becomes a bond that is inseparable, but for like the harm element or the injury that you were talking, a legal infraction basically that you were talking about before. And so there's an interesting case, Maynard v. Hill, that talks about this, and it kind of sheds a little bit of light as to the aspects of marriage being a contract, but that ultimately its dissolution comes from the legislature, or it mentioned common law, but this was actually before these state constitutional provisions, which then became statutory. But that these statutes are based more on public policy than they are on contract, because in the sense of contract, you could dissolve the marriage by mutual consent, which that's what we're talking about with this bill in Texas. But that public policy actually requires a legal infraction, a legal fault, in order to break that bond. And this kind of supports, if we're to say that a no-fault statute is unconstitutional in all regards, you can expect the other side to say, well, what about in instances where both parties agree? If you can't say that a statute is facially void or completely void unless you can prove that in all circumstances. And so this is an interesting question too. You had mentioned the parent-child relationship, and there's all sorts of Supreme Court precedents and discussions on that and rulings on that, and I kind of see the no fault being really the foundation that precipitates all of these other things. It's kind of the catalyst to open the floodgates for the government to kind of come in and, well, not kind of, absolutely come in and intrude your private life. No fault, the grounds for the divorce actually being sort of the lock on the vault, that if there was this limitation, this lock on the vault, not that you couldn't get divorced, but that there would have to be some legal infraction in order to do so, that would actually protect all of those rights and freedoms that you experience as a parent, as a spouse. That would be unbreakable unless there was a legal infraction. And what no fault seems to be doing is that it takes the lock right off, and it's just an open door for
no fault justice is a contradiction of terms. Prima facie, no fault justice is an oxymoron. You can't have no fault justice. It doesn't work.